have his head for this.
Huh. He is just stalling, hoping it gets dark.
When are you going to start praying? This is not a digging contest.
Go and get 4 barrels of water and pour it on the sacrifice and the wood. It is not wet enough. Pour 4 more barrels of water on it. Is anything too hard for the living God? Pour 4 more barrels of water, and you will know there is a God in Israel, and his name is not Baal.
Ahab will have his head for this.
And they do it right in front of you. They mock the crap out of you. And now let me just kind of start drawing it in for you. So here you go.
Ahab will have his head for this.
Stand back. Father, move on back. Jehovah, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are the only true God, that I am your servant, and that you have turned their hearts back to yourself.
It seems awful,
God of Abraham.
awfully violent, doesn't it?
It is scorching
Man,
hot.
that's because it's the lake of fire, and they're being burnt by it. And literal interpretation of the Old Testament sure sounds like a very angry, pissed off God that just doesn't seem like the loving, caring type of God.
Fire from heaven!
So when that's the fire that proceeds out of your mouth and it burns your enemies, then if you think it literally burns your enemies, then you'll interpret the Bible, the Old Testament, as Satan is speaking there, and he's the one bringing down literal fire from heaven, because that's who can bring down literal fire from heaven in the sight of men to deceive those that dwell upon the earth.
Help!
Behold, the God of Abraham and Isaac has answered by fire.
It even burned up the rocks and dirt.
What kind of God is this that has no image and yet does this?
Moses commanded that we should worship Jehovah God and him only. He commanded the death sentence on any sons of Israel that worship any other god.
No! Have mercy!
Kill them, all 850.
See? So Elijah said, kill them, all of them, with the sword of the mouth.
But we didn't know!
Put them to the sword now.
The prophets of Baal were all killed.
So the whole setup, the whole system of all the false prophets, the system itself died out. Because when it loses its power, when it loses its deception, that whole line of work fails. There's no more, like, it's not in demand anymore.
O king, you will need to eat and drink and then make haste for home. I hear the sound of an abundance of rain.
3.5 years earlier,
So that was the abundance of rain is getting ready, because it's not going to be withheld any longer. And so now it'll be 3.5 years later, but then 3.5 years prior, before that happened,
Elijah had told Ahab that it would not rain in Israel again until Elijah so commanded. With the prophets of Baal dead and the people once again worshiping the true God, Elijah commanded it to rain.
even though Elijah was the truth, he was still in the midst of the land that the truth was being withheld for that 42-month period, because that's why it jumped back to the 3.5 years prior, because what was getting ready to take place was the rain was coming. That's why Jezebel was, that's why Satan knows his time is short, and it's the full force.
A big rain would swell the rivers and prevent them from returning home, so they had to make haste or risk being cut off by the floods. 3.5 years earlier, Elijah had told Ahab that it would not rain in Israel again until Elijah so commanded. With the prophets of Baal dead and the people once again worshiping the true God, Elijah commanded it to rain. A big rain would swell the rivers and prevent them from returning home, so they had to make haste or risk being cut off by the floods. Elijah, empowered by God, ran in front of the horses for the 20-mile trip back to the king's palace.
Well, I suppose you killed that Elijah. I see that Baal is sending us rain.
No, dear. Elijah is just outside. He ran ahead of my chariot, all the way from Mount Carmel.
That is ridiculous.
To run ahead of a chariot is just to be ahead of the ideas. If you notice, Jezebel, 12 minutes in the beginning,
Ahab married Jezebel, daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Zidonians. Jezebel was known for her religious zeal. She despised the God of Israel and promoted Baal worship throughout the
see
land.
that? Just reminds me of that.
Elijah is just outside. He ran ahead of my chariot, all the way from Mount Carmel.
That is ridiculous. No one could run that far ahead of a chariot. Where are the priests of Baal? We must celebrate the coming of rain.
I had them all killed. They were liars and deceivers.
You what? You idiot! You should have killed Elijah!
But his God answered by fire. It was a miracle. Our priests were powerless. The people all turned to Jehovah. But honey, what else could I do? I feared the people.
You killed my priests! You fool! No miracle will protect Elijah from the wrath of Baal. If I do not kill Elijah for this, let the gods do the same to me and more.
I must get away. They seek my life.
Go and stand on the mountain before the Lord.
As Elijah stood before the Lord, there came a strong wind, but God was not in the wind. Then there came an earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. Finally, there was a fire from heaven, but God was not in the fire.
It just sounds like all the deception that you're going to see on the television.
God was trying to show Elijah that he was far more terrible than Jezebel. He was far more terrible than Jezebel. Then, when the wind, earthquake, and fire had ceased, Elijah heard God speaking in a still, small voice. He asked Elijah the same question he had asked before.
Elijah, what are you doing here?
Elijah hadn't learned anything. He was still feeling sorry for himself, so he answered just as before.
Everyone has forsaken your law except me. All of your prophets have been killed. I am the only one left that worships you, and they seek my life.
All right, if you would have it this way, go and anoint Elisha to take your place as my prophet. And though you don't know it, there are 7,000 in Israel who have not bowed down to the statues of Baal and have not kissed his feet. Now go your way. All the family of Ahab shall die.
So did Elijah hear that in his head, or did he hear it from another human voice?
Elijah found Elisha plowing with his oxen and anointed him to be a prophet.
The Lord has said you are to be his prophet.
I will sacrifice my oxen to the Lord and follow you immediately.
Right next to Ahab's palace was a vineyard owned by Naboth. Ahab often looked out the window and admired its beauty, wishing it was his. The more he thought about it, the more he wanted his neighbor's property. The commandment says, "Thou shalt not covet." But Ahab did not regard Jehovah. Ahab had plenty of money, so he decided that he would just buy the vineyard.
Sell this vineyard to me. It is right next to my house, and I will give you a better vineyard somewhere else.
God would not permit such a thing.
This property has been in my family for over 500 years. The law commands us not to sell our land outside the family.
Tell me, my dear, why do you not eat? Why are you so sad?
Because Naboth will not sell his vineyard to me.
You are the king. You have the power to do anything you please. Don't let one lowly peasant stand in the way of your happiness. I will get the vineyard for you. I will pay you more when the job is done. Now keep your mouth shut, or you may get the same.
Moses' law says, "Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor."
There, that's the one.
Yeah, and he said the king should die.
And he said God sends devils to possess the king.
Did he? Did he really
Then
say
he
that?
deserves to die.
They carried Naboth off and killed him.
There, dear. Now you have your vineyard. You can't get ahead in this world unless you are ruthless. The strong survive.
It is lovely, isn't it? I deserve it, don't I?
Jezebel knew that her god, Baal, did not have eyes to see. But there is a God in heaven that sees every act and never forgets.
Elijah, Ahab has gone down to the vineyard of Naboth to possess it. Go and meet him there. Deliver my word unto him.
And y'all know who you are. Oh, the Lord told me to tell you I'm supposed to come see you. No, he didn't. No, that's you saying it. It's not the Lord God. I speak to the Lord God.
God told me to tell you
time.
that you have killed an innocent man and taken his property. For this and your other sins, in the very place where the dogs licked the blood of Naboth, they shall lick your own blood.
Has my enemy found me here?
You cannot hide from God. Because you traded your soul for possessions, God will bring evil upon all your family. All your children and relatives will die, even the little ones.
That Elijah has said has come to pass.
Ahab now sacrificed to Jehovah, but he did not follow him with a pure heart.
Anyway, that's kind of a Mayan depiction of a sheep. So I'm just showing you different sheep, different places. That's probably enough for right now. You don't need to see a whole bunch of sheep. Just enough to put it in your mind.
What? It is bleeding badly.
Hang on! I'm afraid he is dead. The arrow found the one spot that was not protected by armor. I guess it was just his time to die.
Oh God, no!
Put his body in Naboth's vineyard until we have time to deal with it properly.
Just as Elijah had said, the dogs were licking the blood of Ahab right under Jezebel's window. He was the first of his household. Others were to follow.
All the devout men agreed Ahab would be victorious.
Not all, not Micaiah, whom you slapped and put in prison. When the people hear of this, they will have your head. You are free to go. Ahab is dead.
Yes, I know. And no doubt the dogs have licked his blood as God said. Jezebel will be next. And all that are related to Ahab. God has spoken.
I must hide. Oh no. Micah said I would know who had the Spirit of God on the day I hid in a small room inside of a room.
The time has come. All of Ahab's family will perish, even the little children. None will be left alive. Jezebel will be eaten by dogs, and there will be no one to mourn her or bury her.
I must paint my face so I will be attractive to General Jehu when he returns from battle. I will stand here where they can see that I am in charge.
Who is on my side?
We are with you, General.
What did she say?
Who is on my side?
We are with you, General.
Then throw Jezebel down.
You can't do that! I am the queen!
Leave the body lying.
Dogs ate Jezebel and licked up her blood on the very spot where they licked her husband's blood, just as the prophet of God had said.